in Confero, hope you know. 473 standing strong is yours, you know. The medium and opportunity for you. Make your contribution, let them know. Democracy in Spice Isles is alive and well. Ask you questions, sing and beat you drum. Make you suggestions, encourage them all to walk the straight and narrow in the land. Politics, religion, and economic issue, regional, international, spiritual issues, agricultural, environmental, and trending to subject matter. We fear none, we back down. Freedom of speech is enshrined in the land. God, we freedom, jealous and they in Cuba, Russians and Chinese and lucky like we. The Rhine and North Korea wish they had it too. Most of the Caribbean lucky like we. Studio Galaxy there for you and me. Galaxy Equalizer ready like Freddy. And Studio Galaxy 473 in Confero. We freedom of speech is sacrosanct. Make use of it. Let no one challenge. Blow your shell, beat your drum, tell others. Like and share, subscribe and discuss it too. Let the world know Studio Galaxy is around. Studio Galaxy in Confero, hope you know. 473 standing strong is yours, you know. The medium, an opportunity for you. Make your contribution, let them know. Though you shall beat your drum, tell others. Like and share, subscribe and discuss it too. Let the world know Studio Galaxy is a road.
Welcome, brothers and sisters. Welcome again to this portion of our program on Studio Galaxy 473. This is the second part of our program, and it's pure politics. And we encourage you to join us, subscribe to our program, and share. We believe that we have to discuss issues. We believe that we must be tolerant. And we must not be afraid to discuss issues. The number is 536-2558. You don't have to agree with us, but you could subscribe to Studio Galaxy 473 in Confero. The topic today is, shouldn't we be aware left-wing left-wing chaos. Chaos is not in our interest. Shouldn't we be aware that left-wing chaos is not in our interest? Perhaps we, more than any other country in the Caribbean, the English-speaking Caribbean, had an opportunity to experiment with left-wing policy for 4.5 years. We saw the end. We saw the result. Perhaps we, more than any other, could speak about it. We saw the high level of secrecy, the lies, the propaganda. We witnessed the amount of people that was placed under heavy manners. We had an opportunity to recover from it. In 1983, we had an invasion, a rescue mission, an intervention depends on which side of the pendulum you are on or you were on. A lot of Grenadians was happy. And in 1984, we had election, 1 year after. And from then onwards, we have an opportunity to select the government of our choice. We have freedom of expression. We have very early, perhaps more than any country in the Caribbean, liberalization of our telecommunication network from a country at one occasion where many people went to prison or placed under heavy manners for disagreeing, dissenting views. When you disagree with left-wing chaos, you're likely to end up in jail. All countries that experiment with communism, left-wing policy, where the leadership is communist, would experience many people in jail for their political views. The government is unable to charge them. They don't try them. They don't give them an opportunity to defend themselves. They just jail them. Cuba today, after 60 years of experimenting with communism, have thousands of people in prison. They don't have press freedom. Trade unions are not free to practice. That is one of the biggest contention today with the United States of America. They believe Cubans are using the medical personnel as some slave project. They believe that these people are functioning against their will. And to a certain extent, I agree with the Americans. And that is perhaps why Grenadian leaders, that and other issues, lost their vision. Because the Cuba medical program has contributed significantly to the Grenada economy and to Grenadians. But while that is done, the Americans argue that the Grenada government have to pay the majority of money to the Cuban government. So it is as if Cuba are selling workers. They have workers on sale. Yes, workers in the medical health field. But they're selling workers. And the government they sell the workers to have to pay them 65% of the money, or let's say over 50% of the money. And the workers get 35%. There are some stories where the passport were kept. There are some stories where surveillance, they monitor those workers. And I don't know if you notice how silent these Cuban professionals are. They don't readily engage the press. It's as if they have to have permission to speak with the press. Some people argue that the family members are not permitted to readily function in the country they are in. And there are instances that Cuban doctors and other medical personnel get an opportunity to seek asylum. We have had, I think, 2 instances in Grenada where medical personnel, 2 I know of, jump ship go in Barbados. Next thing you hear, they want asylum to go to the United States of America. Every communist country are jailing people without charge, without trial, and without an opportunity to defend themselves. Should we in Grenada be aware of left-wing policies, of communism? Is it in our interest? Yes, a number of people have had the opportunity to train in agriculture, engineering, medical issues, mobilization, propaganda, different fields in communist countries. But is it in our interest? Does the end justify the means? What price we pay? How do you evaluate that because you have people trained in Russia or China or Cuba, when they come back here, they can't disagree with the government? How do we deal with that? You see, in Grenada, unlike other countries, we experience what went on between 1979 and 1983. Some revolutionaries like to say it was a glorious revolution. In 1979, when the government was overthrown, the arguments that was advanced to justify overthrowing the legitimate government, one of them was freedom of the press, personal freedom, violation of human rights. It was not about productivity, violation of human rights, excesses committed by the police and the paramilitary. It was not about imprisoning people without charge, trial, or an opportunity to defend themselves. It was not about having people in concentration camp. And I think sometimes we forget. And we need to be remembered. So I say again, the justification, the reason advanced from Maurice Bishop and his group to overthrow the legitimate government was excesses by the police and the secret police, what I call the Tonton Macoute in Cuba, in Haiti. They say the government secret police. They say Mongoose gang. Excesses. And the fact that Gary passed a law that if you want to open a newspaper, start a newspaper, you have to deposit X amount in the treasury. Because he claimed there was propagating malicious act and rumors against people. And when you bring them up in court, they claiming they're bankrupt. So he said that newspaper, obviously that was a measure used to smother the press. That was the argument that was advanced. So when Maurice Bishop overthrew Gary in 1979, people expected that you will have newspapers and radio stations will be free. And now people could express themselves. So Maurice Bishop lied to the public. He deceived the public. And then he sent to prison. Maurice Bishop signed the order for over 3,000 Grenadians to go to jail. About 5,000 Grenadians went to jail. But Maurice Bishop personally signed the order for 3,113. The other people that went to jail without bishop signing the order went for shorter duration and was arrested in different areas, different places. Some of them was arrested, spent 2 months in a police station, they let them go. Some of them was arrested and transferred from different places. So let me repeat that. Those that Maurice Bishop signed the order for as the prime minister was 3,112 at that time. Why is it that left-wing policies always have to hide the truth? Their policy is not attractive. Their philosophy is confrontational and aggressive. It is not easy to buy in a left-wing communist policy. They always have to ride on a momentum, ride on a cause. Because if they present themselves, the people would not accept them. But in Grenada context, shouldn't we be aware? I notice today in politics, the communists, the left wing is on the rise again. They suckle and they're making move. They're riding on a cause. They're hiding their faces. And they're looking for unsuspecting individuals to front their cause. They always want somebody to front the cause. Because now they're going to look for who could win and put some individual in front and hide behind them. Shouldn't we be aware of that? I asked the question the last time, and I directed my question to Peter David. And I said, Peter, tell Grenadians about the Angola option. What that is all about. What was the significance about it? Because it wasn't his principle that killed Bishop. It was about the Angola option. Why is the left wing afraid to discuss those issues? Peter David is a likable person. Most people you talk with, they go tell you Peter nice. Not much they're going to tell you about Peter. Peter nice and he will help people. Most people you speak to. So Peter is a nice front for the communists, the Marxist-Leninists, the people, the left wing, those who like to cause chaos in our country, those who prepare to jail people. They have to have a face that the public could accept. So Peter seems to have been carrying that badge well. I may ask Peter about the political commotion. You see, what does that mean? What the political commotion is all about? I ask this question because I believe we ought to know. We should know. Remember to like our program, share our program, and subscribe to our program. There are some topics we're going to dare and people will afraid to go in. We fear no subject matter.
Subscribe and discuss it. You let the world the road.
Yes, Studio Galaxy is in town. And on that program, you're going to hear us speak about subject matter that politicians afraid. But shouldn't we be aware of the actions of the left now? Every country that communism is the order of the day, people in jail, without charge, without trial, and without an opportunity to defend themselves. You think it's easy for you to be inside your house and they come and pick up your mother? No question you can ask. And they go with her. And nobody cannot tell you anything. They don't charge her. They don't bring her to court. They don't give her an opportunity to defend themselves. Do you think it's easy to be in your house and they come and pick up your daughter and they go with her? When they come and meet her, there was no women with them, you know. There was no women with them. They take your daughter and go. You can't go to no lawyer, no lawyer afraid. Remember the jail Tillman Thomas and Lloyd Noel? They were two lawyers. They even jailed Radix too. You know. Radix was with them. All these people I speaking to you was strong supporters of Maurice Bishop. You know. Do you think it's easy for them to pick up your father and go with him? And children crying. And months, they don't know if he's alive or if he's dead. That is the footprints. And that is the hallmark of left-wing policy, of extreme ideology, of extreme ideas. Shouldn't Grenadians be aware of that? The writing is on the wall. Peter David, what group are you leading? Is it another extreme left-wing group? Peter, are they using you as a front? Why do I say that? Throughout Peter's political history, he has avoided all controversial issues. Peter stays quiet. I ask, Peter, were you the political commotion during the revolution? If you were, it means that you were well respected among the extremist group. It means, Peter, that you were well trained in the political ideology. It means, Peter, you were aware of the Angola option. Now, why are we going on that route? Is it in our interest? The communist countries and the left-wing policies like to glorify and exploit inequalities in society. They exploit inequalities in society to put one side against the other. So Maurice Bishop liked to talk about the bourgeoisie, the petty bourgeois, the patriotic bourgeois, the shoppers bourgeois, and the proletariats. Those of you who were wrong at that time would be accustomed. But you just have to go and take your time and listen to the line of match speeches. Maurice Bishop a whole line of speech. I understand at one occasion, they considered Tillman Thomas as a patriotic bourgeois. They say you could work with them. The patriotic bourgeois, you could work with them. They have shoppers bourgeois. If you had a shop at supermarket, they call it a shoppers bourgeois. And then he had the proletariats. So even when Maurice Bishop was sending Grenadians to go and train, what they went and trained on would have determined whether they were patriotic bourgeois, the children of patriotic bourgeois, or the children of proletariats. They have to create this division in society, to create this hatred, so that communism would flourish. It cannot be sold. This is why the left wing and the communists would tell you, you only need support from 15% of the population to control the population. That 15% would be the militia and the army and the politicos, which should have been led by the political commission. And people would fret them. Because if your brother and sister and your father and mother could be arrested without any explanation, and there is no media to report it, and there is no lawyers to defend them, and the church, even the church, they put plant in the church. Some of them would go to church, you know. Hardline communists go to church to know what the preacher preaching. If you so lock up the preacher too. Heavy manners, they call that. The Rastafarians in Grenada that gravitated towards Maurice Bishop because Maurice Bishop spoke about legalizing marijuana, the weed. And he also gave them hope about Africa. They too, over 300 of them was in prison. Maurice Bishop treated them very badly. You see, they was not aware of the left-wing chaos, the left-wing communist policy. Some of them went back to the jungle. They tried Babylon, they leave Babylon. Bishop, the military went for them. And fire gun and pick up some of them. It is always said that Mackenzie received a shot while running away. I don't think they deliberately shoot him, but when there was firing gun, they say he got shot. But he continued to run, and he was never seen again. He died in the woods. There's so much Grenadian jump the boat and go to Trinidad. Now, why is it we seem to be going back the same direction? For months, Peter David is forming his political party. He call it a movement. And I see some of the firebrands with Peter. And I know, I've spoken to some of them. And they believe our time is coming. They want to get the power of the guns again. The flammable power of the gun to put people under heavy manners. They are aware that they have to get acceptable face to show the public, so they're looking for it. The reason they have not launched the party officially yet, because they don't get enough acceptable face to front for that party. That party is an extreme group. They represent the communists and the left wing and the atheists. I make it my duty to engage a number of them. And I ask questions. They're glad that the environment that is created now, 50 years after independence, Deacon Mitchell is creating the environment for them to work. Class. Who is classless? Who is commoners? Who is beggy? Who is cultural literates? They're creating the environment. Maurice Bishop sat in a meeting. He said the environment is not conducive for getting rid of Gary. So we must make the environment. He said Gary start with fire. So we will start a fire. It was alleged that Maurice Bishop and them mastermind the burning down of government buildings and institutions and spreading rumors to grow discord in our country. So that it's going to reach to a class to create chaos. Because the communists flourish best when there is chaos. I asked the question, who sent Deacon? I don't get an answer. I know for a fact that there are third-party directing on foreign affairs based upon the utterances of Deacon and many others. I don't have an answer. But I ask, shouldn't we be aware? Shouldn't we be concerned? If Peter David is leading a team, why Peter shy away from all controversies? He's quiet as a lamb. He's biding his time. And he's fronting for the extreme left. So over the next couple of years, we're likely to see another very confrontational politics with Western societies. Grenada again want to lead with the communist ideology in the Caribbean. Is that in our interest? How many Grenadians that want to go to Russia, China, or Cuba? Cuba have trained hundreds of Grenadians. How much of them want to go back to Cuba? Cubans want to go to the United States of America and France and England. They want to go in a country where they have a choice, where they have an option. They want to go in a country where if they say something against the government, they will not end up in jail. They will not be murdered. They will not be raped. They will not be placed under heavy manners. Should Grenadians be aware of left-wing communist chaos? Because that is what they cause. Chaos. Heavy manners. Prison. They jail you. Seize people's property. The house George Louis used to stay in Maran. Just take somebody else. And they occupy it. Seize it. That is left-wing politics. Why is Grenadian closing their eyes? And we see the rise of this extreme group. When they're done, they talk about education. Eric Matthew Gary built 28 schools in the country in 13 and a half years. There is no need to build all these structures anymore. No need. What we need is to improve the productivity level in the schools. Every government that passed continue to invest in the education system numerically. Keith Mitchell was identified by the St. George's University as the president of education because he perhaps, more than any of the others post-83, lobbied for education and for scholarship for children. So you would not hear me chastising any Grenadian leader about education. The numerical aspect of education, but I constantly speak about the productivity in education because we are not productive enough. But why is it Grenadians not prepared to ask the politician questions so they know them better? If you decide to represent a country and you decide to vie for the leadership, then I feel I have a right to ask you about the Angola option because you was there. What did you do about it? What was your position? That was one of the worst crimes that committed in Grenada after slavery and colonialism. The very barbaric manner in which we cold-bloodedly murdered people without charge, without trial, without an opportunity to ourselves. There was no justice with compassion. One woman begged them that she was pregnant. That couldn't save her. The bitterness, the hate, the anger, the passion with which they was prepared to practice that chaos, that left-wing communist chaos. They had no compassion for a pregnant woman. Somebody that was once their friend. They sat in meeting with her, they laugh with her, they eat with her. And then they butcher. Monkey, hunters. Monkey just show them the child. And hunters just walk away and don't shoot the monkey. They take spade to pick up the pieces of human flesh on the ground. Maurice Bishop didn't turn his face. When they asked them to turn back, Bishop said to turn it back. One man couldn't shoot Bishop, the next one grabbed the gun. Bullets. They collect the carcass. They had to take spade because the machine gun desecrated, decimate the flesh, tore it apart, and they had to take spade to pick it up, to go and burn it. All couldn't burn. The fat ones in trouble to burn. And then bury it. What went wrong with us? What ideology that could have driven so much hate, uncompromising hate in us? Why are we going back that route without getting answers? Ewart Lane, we understand, we believe, based upon the information we have, has serious influence on this present regime. And I ask, who was the political commotion at the time? Peter David was a significant player. So today, he is not 20 years. He's not 30 years. He's not 40 or 50. There is nothing called young wrong him. He's a man like me in the noontide of his life, waiting in the departure lounge. If he is forming a political party, why the secrecy? I will tell you, the party cannot be sold. The party is going to cause destruction to this country. You're going to bring more disaster and chaos and bloodshed. It cannot be sold. So they have to disfigure the party and make it more palatable to present it to people. And they have enough practice in that. They have to make the party presentable until they win. If that party win election, or that this party is powerful enough to form a coalition with the NDC, then you're going to see the level of confrontational politics that will bury us in Grenada again. You see this present Prime Minister using unconventional and orthodox method to silence the press. He is getting resistance. And the people who are resisting are paying a heavy price. While the majority of people is quietly observing. Because an individual afraid that his children wouldn't get a scholarship. The workers that they were thrown out from the Ministry of Sport, they lose their job. But some of them relatives don't want them talk. I go lose mine too. Don't say nothing. It's difficult to get them to speak publicly. In one case, a boyfriend tell the girl, you go make them fire me. Don't say nothing. That is what the method they are used. Fear. Fear. Surveillance. Fear. So you're going to shut them out. And the more Grenadians succumb to these fear tactics, to this retributive justice, to this hate that is practiced in this country, is worse for us in the long run. You may benefit in the short run. Your child might get a scholarship. Or they may get $400 instead of $150. But in the long run, the jail will be full again. And Grenadians will be running again to other countries. Shouldn't we be aware of the strategy of the communists in our country? Shouldn't we demand that these people ask questions? Answer the questions we're asking. You notice only few people that ask him questions now. Some of the journalists that Deacon was promoting as being objective, it seems they have lost the ability to speak. Paralysis, tongueitis. They lost that ability. I don't know if it's because of the opportunities they can get. Because they can get opportunities. Sometimes they get to tour with the Prime Minister. Sometimes their children get it nice. Sometimes their brother get promoted. And as a result of that, they tend to be very silent. We in Grenada have the opportunity to choose the government of our choice. We must not squander that opportunity. We cannot say we don't know. Dominica and St. Vincent and St. Lucia could say that. We have had an experience with left-wing communism in Grenada already. We see what was the result. We end up with the chaos that 4.5 years Maurice Bishop supervised over the worst crimes in Grenada after slavery and colonialism. The very said bishop was accused of being a petty bourgeois. After Bishop Brand, petty bourgeois, Chapas bourgeois, proletariat, he himself was accused of being a petty bourgeois, of being lazy, of being a womanizer, of betraying the cause of Marxist-Leninism. And Bishop was butchered. What we are seeing is the same strategy, the same game that is being played. Peter David and his team cannot face the truth. They cannot sell the organization as it is because the people won't buy it. So they have to get enough fronts to present it in a more palatable manner so it could be accepted. I've asked a number of people close with Peter, are you not concerned? Some of them said yes, some of them said, but it might be different. I said, are you not concerned that Peter David has stayed away from all controversial issues? When we had the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, you following Mandela in Africa. When Mandela was released from prison, he won election, people expected him to go after the white man and maybe retributive justice. Mandela come up with the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. I think it was Bishop Tutu, Desmond Tutu. After 1983, Keith Mitchell implemented the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. And that is at a point where we forgive. You come and tell your story and you live good in this society. Why did Peter David did not attend that session? Did Peter David come in and tell his story? Did he attend? You see, from then on, Peter was a potential leader. And I ask the question today, what post Peter David carried then? Were you the political commotion? You had the issue of COVID-19. That was a very, very tough issue for any government in Grenada. I said the governments hide behind the medical doctors. I said the politicians hide behind the medical doctors. And I agree with them. If I was a politician, I'd hide behind the science. But at that time, any politician that wet the salt had to declare their hand. Immense pressure was placed on Caribbean politicians. They went and took the vaccine and they take it publicly. I believe in it. I am convinced, based upon the information I'm getting from the World Health Organization, PAHO, CAFA, and our own medical doctors, I am convinced that this is the best thing to do, and I am taking the vaccine publicly. Some of them take it with their mother, they take it with their wife. They show the people. I'm convinced you wouldn't die because people know no politician want to die. Did Peter David take COVID-19 vaccine? Yes, he did. Yes, he did because he traveled. Did he take it publicly? Why? Did he make any public statement, yea or nay, about the vaccine? If not, why not? Most of the NDC individuals took the vaccine while they was campaigning against the vaccine. Typical NDC. Ray Roberts publicly supported taking the vaccine. And Robinson, I think it was Robinson, the one who is now in the post office. These were the only two people that was associated with NDC that took a public position. I have no problem if an individual did not take the vaccine. I would respect him. But if you're a leader, you must make it known publicly. Because you saw our country in a very divisive mood vis-a-vis the vaccine. And some people were afraid that if they take the vaccine, they go dead. That is when leadership comes. After the election, immediately after the election, Deacon Mitchell declared war on people in the lower social grouping of the country who supported NNP and was working with government. Deacon Mitchell declared war on them. People lost their jobs. What was Peter's attitude then? Peter said nothing. A number of us was on radio morning, noon, and night objecting. Because most of the people, senior people, was more yellow than saffron. First time I've seen senior public officers in particulars. Wasn't the first time, second time. It happened in 2008, 2013 election. Some of them went to work with a yellow jersey, and a permanent secretary had to intervene and stop them. Kit Mitchell didn't say one word in an object. But low-rank workers, the government fired them. In fact, election took place on the 22nd. On the 23rd was the official result. By the 5th of July, the NDC had letters going out. Chester Humphrey had to get involved to salvage some money for these people. They didn't get back their job, you know. They did not get back their job. And there was no economic justification for the action of the government, you know. It was just malicious, just wicked. No economic justification. Today again, workers are losing their job. The Ministry of Sports, another ministry. And the only reason they're losing their job, because Deacon said the only reason NNP getting help is because we don't know who the true NDC is. So they start back again, then they slow down. They slow down. They fired 31 workers in Grand Bay Estate. They fired the workers that was involved in pest management unit in Moko. Was about 10 or 12 of them. But they start back again. They fire they got rid of, they take out the water from farmers in Maribor. Peter David is the leader of a political party. He's silent on that. Look at the fiasco in Parliament. Blatant, straightforward. When the opposition walked out Peter David was the most senior creature in Parliament. He was the most senior political creature in Parliament. He was duty-bound to speak. Worse off, he was a leader of a political party. He had to get up and speak. When Deacon Mitchell was poking communist fun at the leader of our opposition, 100 years after women were franchised in Grenada, before most of the other Caribbean countries, when Deacon was poking communist political fun at the leader of the opposition, Mother Hen and Chichike, Peter David was duty-bound as the most mature individual in Parliament to ask the Speaker for him to withdraw the statement. Stayed silent. The Prime Minister even fired 2 encouraging shots at him. Peter David, the next potential leader of the movement. I understand they choose a name already, but I don't know the name. Have stayed silent. Who is Peter David? He's a nice fella. He does help people. But with all these political conflicts in this country, he has succeeded in hiding in broad daylight. Peter David hides in broad daylight. And that is why I'm convinced that Peter is leading the extreme group in our country. The left wing, the atheists, the Marxist-Leninists. And I don't believe no good could come out of that group. It's confrontational politics. We're going back with confrontational politics with the United States of America again. We're likely to have more of what Deacon presenting, going after people who speak. And even if they are not powerful enough to send you to prison, they're powerful enough to use your influence for financial strangulation, to affect your children and your spouse and your friends. Shouldn't we be aware in Grenada of this left-wing communist chaos? Shouldn't we be aware? We can't plead the fifth. We can't say we don't know. I speak to provoke discussion. I speak to challenge, and I dare. And I call on Grenadians. We don't have to go down that road. It is not in our interest. It is counterproductive. The very people who are supporting the movement now, you might end up in jail. Because when they jail your friends, you might say they shouldn't jail them. Say, comrade, comrade. What's going on with your comrade? And if they find you're not as militant as you were, they start to watch you with one eye closed and one eye open. You go in jail too. Or they do as how the Public Workers Union do. Throw you out of the medical health plan. We in Grenada, we mustn't close our eyes. We must prepare to discuss issues. We must sit down and exchange ideas and discuss issues. Show rationale and reason why we take the position we have. And if we have good intentions politically, then share it with the public. If you want to seek the good of Grenadians, then tell them what you want to do. You don't have to hide. But the left-wing communists, Marxists, and atheists, they must hide. And they're hiding in their cars. And they always have to use people as a front. As we come to the end of the program, remember to share our program. We don't have much people listening. Most people don't like this program. But share our program. Subscribe to our program. Like our program. And the issues we raise, don't afraid to discuss it. Thank you very much.
Opportunity for you, make your contribution, let them know. Democracy in Spice Isles is alive and well. Ask you questions, sing and beat you drum. Make you suggestions, encourage them on to walk the straight and narrow in the land. Politics, religion, and economic issue, regional, international, spiritual issues too, agricultural, environmental, and trending to subject matter. We fear none, we back down. Freedom of speech is enshrined in the land. God, we freedom, jealous and they in Cuba, Russians and Chinese.